It's designed to be attacked. The more you attack it, the higher the price goes. So we welcome the EU's attacks and the IMF and Christine Lagarde and central banks and Federal Reserve Bank. Please attack me so that my price can go to 100,000, 200,000, $1 million a coin. Thank you. Yeah, so the EU is saying, if Ethereum can change the code and make themselves less carbon intensive, then so should Bitcoin. And we're going to need to attack the price of Bitcoin. The only thing that these Bitcoiners understand is price. We're going to attack the price, and we're going to support Ethereum. So this is what's going on here over there at the EU. The Swedish financial regulator and the EU Commission discussed the possibility of banning Bitcoin and proof of work due to its environmental impact. Now, this, of course, is insanity, because what the EU is doing is they're removing themselves from the race to become Bitcoinized and hyper-Bitcoinization. Whereas, as you point out, they're all over Africa, the colonies of the EU. These countries are like, hey, man, we're going to break free. And we're going to emancipate ourselves from fiat money, and that's what's happening.
There are all sorts of Bitcoin ETFs, even in Europe and other parts of the world. Certainly not in the US yet, but there is of course, a futures Bitcoin ETF. So, I mean, what they're suggesting is that they would target the Bitcoin price, and in order to obviously gaslight people. Fidelity just announced that their 401k plans, and there's close to $3 trillion or $4 trillion in 401k plans with them, that they up to 20% could be put into Bitcoin. So, this is harming investors all over the world, what the EU plan suggests.
This idea of attacking the price of Bitcoin, as you say there, it reveals the EU as being anti-free markets. They've also voiced objection to Elon Musk and his takeover of Twitter. They don't believe in free markets and free enterprise.
The Central African Republic adopts Bitcoin as legal tender, so it's officially the second country in the world. We kind of waited on this because it was hard to discern whether or not this was actually true, but it turns out that the Central African Republic, has adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. That's the second nation after El Salvador. As Saif Dean says, another country with no currency of their own, because they have the French currency, or France ran their currency, adopts Bitcoin rather than solely rely on a foreign central bank expropriating its wealth through inflation.
So these ex-colonies in Africa are busting free of the French and their influence on their currency. And over here in Central and South America, they're busting free of the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. And their influence on their economy and their currency. So it's the BRICS and the Global South. I mean, they're making this huge Bitcoin-enabled move. They've been waiting hundreds and hundreds of years for an opportunity to establish their own sovereignty. Just a couple of days ago, we're talking about El Salvador and Bitcoin adoption in El Salvador. People were saying, the adoption rate is not happening as fast as people want it to happen. And I said, look, it's global FOMO. I said, look, probably a country in Africa will be the next to announce Bitcoin as legal tender. And I said that 3 or 4 days ago. And then this will create FOMO internationally. So now, going back to Central America, now those countries that were sitting on the fence will be like, oh my God, we've got to now move because this is going global. So global FOMO kicking in. So Africa saw what's happening there, so they made Bitcoin legal tender. Now that's going to be reciprocated over back in Central America and Latin America, and then it goes to global FOMO, and pretty soon you're going to have 20, 30, 40 countries on Bitcoin as legal tender. As we've discussed before, Bitcoin is designed to be attacked. When the EU says we need to attack the price of Bitcoin, that is music to Bitcoiners' ears, because all attacks mean greater hash rate, greater security, and higher prices. It's designed to be attacked. The more you attack it, the higher the price goes. So we welcome the EU's attacks and the IMF and Christine Lagarde and central banks and Federal Reserve Bank. Please attack me so that my price can go to 100,000, 200,000, $1 million a coin. Thank you. Well, there's a lot of French African countries like Cameroon, Gabon, Ivory Coast, to name 3. And a couple of others, and they're all former French colonies, and they're all using French currency. And so this country definitely is going to resonate in all those countries. So if you put these two together, that's 7 million and 5 million. That's right? That's their 12 million is now on Bitcoin. And they're all part of the global population. So the populations of countries that are now on Bitcoin standard in the last 2 days has almost doubled. Now, I think the speed at which we find countries making Bitcoin legal tender is going to pick up. So El Salvador is less than a year ago that they made Bitcoin legal tender. So in less than a year, we've got 2 countries, and we're early on in this year. So by the end of 2022, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 other countries. So we're well now on our way toward global hyper-Bitcoinization. The right people are saying negative things about Bitcoin, like IMF and central banks and stuff like that. So these countries take notice, and when they hear Christine Lagarde or the EU speak negatively about Bitcoin, they perk up. They're like, if they hate it, it's probably something we should look at. So the more they talk, the worse it gets for them. Beginning of a new era. We're at the beginning of a new era, that is for sure. So we're just finding our way in this new beginning, this new era, this Bitcoin era, the end of the 40-year era of financialization, the Reagan-Thatcher era, Thatcherism, Reaganism, started in early 1980. I think that's finished. It's over now in 2022. So we're into a new era. This is like the Bukele era. Well, there's no downside to it. If a country makes Bitcoin legal tender, there's no downside. The only thing they have is they get instant recognition and that people are talking about them. They have the possibility to connect with this global monetary network. That there's absolutely no downside. So, and it's easy to do. Just write a law that takes 5 minutes that says we just made Bitcoin legal tender, and
plug in your full node.
Yeah, there's only upside to it. So I think that's a lot of countries, once they realize that there's absolutely no risk to your country in making Bitcoin legal tender, that they'll just be like, why not? There's only upside to this. And so they'll just be doing it.
It'll be the ones that can print money that are the last, the US and Europe and Japan.
Yeah.
So those are the last. They have a huge quintillionaire class.
But that's like the North, right? The global North.
Yeah.
Is now the world is turning, and the North will be on the bottom and the South will be on the top. So that's part of, cycles, Thucydides' trap we mentioned, and the Triffin dilemma, and all these cyclical events and different epochs come and go, and the planets are orbiting and the satellites are orbiting and asteroids are coming and Halley's Comet is back. And by the way, the global South is now going to be running the show, and the global North is in decline, based on this Bitcoin standard and the collapse of all the infrastructure that's been keeping things going for the last 40 years plus.